We have been lied to for decades. Every single time a quarterback holds up the Lombardi Trophy, we are told the same story. He's a champion. He's a leader. He's the reason his team won it all. But what if I told you that some of the quarterbacks who won the Super Bowl had absolutely no business being on that stage? What if I told you that some of them were carried so hard by their defense, by their running game, by sheer blind luck, that they could have been replaced by a traffic cone, and the result would have been exactly the same? That is not an exaggeration. When you see the stats, when you hear the real stories behind these victories, you are going to question everything you thought you knew about Super Bowl history. And yes, there are legends on this list, Hall of Famers, icons, names that will shock you, names that might even make you angry. Good. That means you are paying attention. Now, before we tear apart some of football's most sacred legacies, let me talk to you for just a second. This channel is brand new. We are building a community of real football fans who want the truth, not the watered-down, media-approved, highlight reel version of NFL history, the real, raw, unfiltered truth. And if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, then I am asking you right now, please take 1 second and hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. It costs you nothing, but it means everything to this channel. We are grinding to hit our first major milestone, and every single subscriber brings us one step closer. So join the family, subscribe right now, and let us get into it. These are the 10 worst quarterbacks who won a Super Bowl by pure luck. We start at number 10 with a man who won a Super Bowl and somehow nobody remembers a single thing he did in it. Brad Johnson, quarterback of the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, let us set the scene. That Buccaneers defense was not just good, it was historically, generationally, absurdly dominant. Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Simeon Rice. That defense did not just stop opposing offenses, it humiliated them. It broke their spirit. And in Super Bowl 37 against the Oakland Raiders, that defense did not just win the game, it scored the game. 3 defensive touchdowns. 3! The Buccaneers defense literally scored almost as many points as the entire Raiders offense put up. And while all of that chaos was happening, what was Brad Johnson doing? Managing, handing off, throwing safe, short passes into wide-open windows that a high school quarterback could have completed. Was he terrible? No. But was he the reason Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Brad Johnson was a passenger on a freight train, and the defense was the engine.
Now, at number 9, I am going to say something that might get me in trouble. Joe Namath does not deserve the legendary status that Super Bowl III gave him. I know, the guarantee. Broadway Joe standing in front of reporters, pointing his finger, telling the world that his New York Jets were going to beat the mighty Baltimore Colts. And they did, and it changed football forever. The AFL was legitimized, the merger gained credibility. Joe Namath became immortal. But here's what nobody ever talks about. Go back and actually look at what Joe Namath did in that game. He did not throw a single touchdown pass. Not one. 0. The Jets won that game because of their defense, which picked off the Colts 4 times, and because of Matt Snell, who ran the ball down Baltimore's throat all afternoon. Namath completed 17 passes, the Jets scored 16 points, and the legend was born. But the legend was built on a guarantee and a personality, not on the actual performance. Joe Namath talked his way into history. His teammates carried him there. At number 8, we have another legendary name that does not hold up under the microscope. Ken the Snake Stabler, quarterback of the 1976 Oakland Raiders. A Hall of Famer, a folk hero, a man whose reputation was built on toughness, grit, and late-night stories that would make your jaw drop. But in Super Bowl 11 against the Minnesota Vikings, the Snake was practically invisible. 180 yards passing, 1 touchdown. That is it. Meanwhile, the Raiders' offensive line was absolutely mauling the Vikings' front seven, opening holes so massive that the running backs combined for 266 rushing yards. 266! The Raiders did not need Stabler to throw the football that day. They needed him to hand it off, and that is exactly what he did. The offensive line won that Super Bowl. The running game won that Super Bowl. Ken Stabler just happened to be standing in the backfield while it happened. Number 7. Jim McMahon and the 1985 Chicago Bears. Now, let us have an honest conversation about this team. The 1985 Bears are widely considered the greatest defense in the history of professional football. Not one of the greatest, the greatest. Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, Dan Hampton, Wilbur Marshall. That unit was a wrecking ball with a heartbeat. During the entire 1985 playoffs, the Bears' defense allowed a grand total of 10 points. 10 in 3 games. That is not dominance. That is suffocation. That is extinction-level football. And in the middle of all of that stood Jim McMahon, wearing headbands, cracking jokes, acting like the punk rock quarterback of a generation. And sure, he was fun, he was entertaining, he had personality for days. But could he have sat on the bench and watched the Bears win the Super Bowl anyway? Honestly, probably. The defense was so overwhelmingly dominant that the quarterback position was almost irrelevant. Jim McMahon did not carry that team. That team carried Jim McMahon on its shoulders and then let him take the credit.
At number 6, we travel back to the Miami Dolphins dynasty. Bob Griese, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, a Hall of Famer, and in Super Bowl VIII, one of the most invisible quarterbacks in championship game history. Let me give you one number that tells you everything you need to know. 6. Bob Griese completed 6 passes in the entire game. 6! In a Super Bowl that his team won. How is that even possible? Because Larry Csonka existed. Csonka ran for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns, bulldozing the Minnesota Vikings into submission. The Dolphins' game plan was brutally simple. Give the ball to Csonka, let him punish people, and if we absolutely have to, let Griese throw it. Bob Griese was not a quarterback in that game. He was a ball distributor, a middleman between the center and the running back. He completed 6 passes and won a Super Bowl. If that does not scream luck, I do not know what does. All right, we are halfway through, and I hope you are starting to see the pattern. The quarterback gets the glory, but the team does the work. And if you think these first 5 were shocking, the top 5 is going to absolutely blow your mind. We have a backup quarterback who had no business being on the field, a future Hall of Famer who played like a rookie, and the number 1 pick is a name so legendary, so untouchable, that what I am about to tell you might genuinely make you rethink everything. And hey, quick reminder, if you were enjoying this, if your brain is firing right now, hit that subscribe button. We are putting out content like this every single week, and I do not want you to miss what is coming next. All right, let us keep going. And if you're under 30 years old, there's a very good chance you have never even heard this name. Hostetler was a backup quarterback for the New York Giants, a career clipboard holder who spent years standing on the sideline watching Phil Simms do the actual quarterbacking. And then, late in the 1990 season, Simms went down with an injury, and suddenly, impossibly, Jeff Hostetler was the starting quarterback of a team heading to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 25 against the Buffalo Bills and their explosive, high-powered offense. And here's the thing, the Giants knew they could not win a shootout. They knew Hostetler was not the guy to trade touchdowns with Jim Kelly. So they did something genius. They held the football. For 40 out of 60 minutes, 40 minutes of possession, the Giants ran the ball, controlled the clock, and kept Buffalo's offense sitting on the bench watching. And when the game came down to the final play, it wasn't Hostetler who decided the outcome. It was Scott Norwood, the Bills' kicker, who missed a 47-yard field goal wide right. Wide right. 2 words that haunt an entire city to this day. Jeff Hostetler has a Super Bowl ring, but that ring belongs to the game plan, the running game, and Scott Norwood's right foot, not to Jeff Hostetler. Now, number 4 is where things get truly uncomfortable, because the quarterback I am about to talk about is one of the 5 greatest to ever play the game, Peyton Manning. But not the Peyton Manning you remember, not the surgeon in Indianapolis who threw 55 touchdowns in a single season. No, this is the 2015 version of Peyton Manning, the version that could barely throw the ball 30 yards downfield, the version that threw 9 touchdowns and 17 interceptions during the regular season. 17 interceptions, more picks than touchdowns. That is not a Hall of Fame quarterback. That is a liability. And yet, somehow, that version of Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl. How? 2 words: Von Miller. In Super Bowl 50 against the Carolina Panthers, Von Miller was a one-man wrecking crew. He forced fumbles, he sacked Cam Newton into oblivion, he single-handedly dismantled the MVP's confidence. And while all of that was happening, what did Peyton Manning do? He threw for 141 yards, 0 touchdowns. He managed the game, he survived, and at the end, he walked off into the sunset as a champion. It was the perfect ending to a legendary career, but let us not pretend for a single second that Peyton Manning won that Super Bowl. Von Miller won that Super Bowl. The Denver defense won that Super Bowl. Peyton Manning was just lucky enough to be holding the clipboard when the confetti fell. Number 3, and this is the one that every football fan already knows, Trent Dilfer, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. If there is a single name in NFL history that represents a quarterback being carried to a championship, it is Trent Dilfer. That Ravens defense was not just great, it was historically unprecedented. They set the record for fewest points allowed in a 16-game season. Ray Lewis was playing at a level that defied human comprehension. The defense was so dominant that the Ravens' offense went through a 5-game stretch during the regular season without scoring a single touchdown. 5 games, no touchdowns, and they still made the playoffs because the defense would not allow it to matter. And in the Super Bowl against the New York Giants, Dilfer completed less than 50% of his passes. He was mediocre on his best day. And what happened after he won the ring? The Ravens cut him. They literally released the quarterback who had just won the Super Bowl. That tells you everything. The organization itself looked at Trent Dilfer and said, "We won in spite of you, not because of you. Here's your ring, now get out." And this might be the single worst performance by a winning quarterback in Super Bowl history. Read these numbers carefully. 9 completions out of 21 attempts, 123 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In a game, his team won. Let me put that in perspective. Antoine Randall L., a wide receiver, threw a touchdown pass in that Super Bowl. A wide receiver threw a touchdown, and the starting quarterback did not. Ben Roethlisberger's passer rating in that game was a 22.6. That is not a typo. 22.6. To put that in context, if you spiked the ball into the ground on every single play, your passer rating would be 39.6. Roethlisberger played worse than literally doing nothing. The Steelers' defense won that game. The special teams won that game. The trick plays won that game. Big Ben was along for the ride. And yet, he got the ring. He got the credit. And history moved on as if it never happened. But we remember, and the numbers do not lie.
And finally, number 1. And I know what you were thinking. There is absolutely no way the number 1 spot on this list belongs to Johnny Unitas, the golden arm, the man who invented modern quarterback play, the player who every single quarterback since has tried to emulate. How could Johnny Unitas possibly be number 1 on a list about luck? Because Super Bowl 5 happened. And Super Bowl 5 was not a football game. It was a disaster. It is officially known as the Blunder Bowl. And when you hear what happened, you will understand why. The Baltimore Colts committed 7 turnovers in that game. 7, and they still won. Johnny Unitas threw a 75-yard touchdown in that game. Sounds impressive, right? Except the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, wobbled through the air like a wounded duck, and somehow landed perfectly in the arms of John Mackey, who took it the rest of the way. that was not a play, that was an accident. A beautiful, ridiculous, once-in-a-lifetime accident. And then Unitas got injured and had to leave the game. Earl Morrall, the backup, came in to finish. The Colts fumbled. They threw interceptions. The Dallas Cowboys turned the ball over right back. It was chaos. Pure, unfiltered, beautiful chaos. And when the dust settled, a rookie kicker named Jim O'Brien lined up for a 32-yard field goal with 5 seconds remaining. He made it. Colts win, Super Bowl champions, and Johnny Unitas got a ring for a game where his biggest contribution was a fluke touchdown off a tipped ball before getting knocked out of the contest entirely. It is the luckiest Super Bowl victory in the history of the National Football League, and it belongs to one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived. Football is poetry, and sometimes that poetry makes absolutely no sense.
And there you have it. 10 quarterbacks who have Super Bowl rings that probably should come with an asterisk. Now, I know some of you are fired up right now. I know some of you are screaming at your screen about Namath, about Unitas, about Manning, and that is exactly what I want. Drop a comment right now and tell me where I got it wrong. Tell me which pick made you the angriest. Tell me which quarterback I was too harsh on or which one I let off too easy. Let us start a war in the comments section because that is what football is all about. Passion, debate, defending the players and the moments that mean something to you. And if you made it this far, if you watched this entire video, then you are exactly the kind of fan this channel was built for. We are not here to play it safe. We are here to challenge the narratives, dig into the numbers, and tell the stories that nobody else has the courage to tell. And we are just getting started. So if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, share this video with every football fan in your life, and tell them there is a new channel they need to be watching. We are dropping content like this every single week, and the next video is going to be even bigger, even bolder, and even more controversial than this one. So subscribe, be part of the movement, and I will see you in the next one.